Welcome so much, everyone. On behalf of Project Camino's Office of Student Success and Cal Poly Pomona, we welcome you to this afternoon's webinar, which is our next steps for admitted transfer students. Thank you so much for being here and congratulations. We're very thrilled that you're able to join us this afternoon. So for today's webinar, we are very happy to have the Office of Admissions team join us, and they will not only be facilitating the presentation, but they will also be answering your questions in the Q&A box. Make sure that you use that Q&A box. The chat will be disabled in a couple of seconds, but make sure that you send any questions that you may have in through that Q&A. Our workshop today will focus really on our admissions next steps. For those that have been receiving our communication, we do have a webinar tomorrow, which will be on financial aid. What are the next steps that you need to know about? So we invite you to join us for tomorrow's financial aid workshop to make sure that you have all of your financial aid questions answered at that point. But without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to our colleagues in admissions. Tracy Liu.
Great, thank you, Xiomara, and welcome students. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. I first want to say congratulations. We had 58,000 applications, undergraduate applications to Cal Poly Pomona, which is a record high for our campus. And the fact that you're sitting here today in this workshop as an admitted student, you really need to give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause, because it is certainly no easy feat to get admitted to our university this year. With 58,000 applications, we chose you. So that being said, there's a lot of folks that might be on wait lists or were turned away and not given an admission offer. So one of the things that we like to do is host a lot of these next steps workshops to ensure that you, as a newly admitted student, fulfills every single requirement and obligation that we're asking of you. Because, to be quite honest, there's a lot of other people maybe on a waiting list that would love to be in your shoes right now. But we don't want you, our local students, to be caught up in that, and we don't want you to lose this fabulous opportunity. So for the next half hour to 45 minutes, we really want to go through some important next steps that are either a requirements of you or is highly suggested. And all of these things are really to ensure a successful enrollment and matriculation as a newly admitted student. So I want to turn it over to our fabulous admission counselor team. Ms. Deborah Hernandez will be facilitating today's session, but then Ms. Jasmine Flores and Ms. Inos Ting will be behind the scenes answering all your questions that do come in the chat. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Deborah Hernandez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I just wanted to echo really quickly what Tracy said. Congratulations to all of you. Hopefully today we'll be able to answer some of those next steps that a lot of you have been asking about already. Like Xiomara shared, please enter your questions in the Q&A box. A lot of those questions most likely will be answered as we go through the slides, or at the end of the presentation, we will answer them live if we don't respond to them in the Q&A box. I did also take a look at some of the questions you all submitted when you were registering. So I will make sure to talk about those questions as I am going through the slides. So let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, what you need to do in order to accept your admissions to Cal Poly Pomona is submit your enrollment confirmation deposit and accept your admission. It is essentially a two-step process that you were going to complete on your Bronco Direct. So you do have to log into my.cpp.edu. You do have to search for the Student Center and review your application status, and that is where you're going to accept your admissions and pay the $150 enrollment deposit. This is also where you will see if you're eligible for a fee waiver. If you're eligible for a fee waiver, it will already be added to your account, so that there's no additional paperwork or application you have to fill out. This is all information based on your FAFSA, and it will already be added into your account. So if you are eligible for a fee waiver, you will see that you don't have to submit the $150 deposit. If you aren't eligible for a fee waiver, we're going to ask you to submit that $150 deposit. So you'll know if you're eligible once you go into your Bronco Direct. The deposit does go towards fall fees. So a lot of the time students wonder why we make this request. Essentially, it's a commitment, and this $150 deposit you will see subtracted from your fall fees total. The deposit is non-refundable and non-transferable. So for those of you that don't have the fee waiver, if you change your mind and decide not to come to Cal Poly Pomona, or if you are withdrawn or rescinded for whatever reason, we cannot refund you this money. We cannot transfer it to another institution. So just be aware that when you are making that deposit, that you are committing to the university. It is not something that we can refund you back. The deadline to complete this step is May 1st. So I know a lot of you are still waiting to hear back from other schools, but you do need to submit your deposit and accept your admissions by May 1st. We are being very strict on deadlines. So that's May 1st at 11:59 p.m. So make sure that you are completing this step as soon as possible and as soon as you are ready to commit to Cal Poly Pomona. And essentially this step is what needs to be completed before you proceed to any of the following steps that I will discuss in the next slides. So after you have submitted your enrollment confirmation deposit, you will be able to sign up for orientation. Orientation opened up on March 15th and will remain open until May 17th. And on the screen, you can see the dates that we have available for orientation. You will also register for orientation through Bronco Direct, and the days are divided by college and by major. But one of the things that I like to tell the students is the earlier you sign up for orientation, the more selection of classes that you will have. And there is an $87.38 registration fee. This fee is decided by orientation. So another big question that we get is, why am I being charged, especially this year, because it is going to be virtual? And the reason is that the fee is established by the Office of Orientation. They do have a full staff that is going to be assisting you during orientation. They have students, they have academic advisors that are all going to be available. But if you do have any additional questions, you can always contact orientation directly. This fee is due in September. So if you were to commit to Cal Poly Pomona today and pick a registration date, you do not have to pay those $87 today. You can hold off until September to pay this fee. And if you are eligible for any type of financial aid, you can wait until that financial aid is dispersed to take care of that orientation charge. Orientation is going to be, essentially, when we talk about orientation, it's 3 steps, and it's the 3 steps that you see on the screen right now. So the very first step is what is currently open today, what opened on March 15th, which is going in and selecting a date for your reservation. Again, you do have to accept your admissions first, and this is all done through Bronco Direct. The second step is going to begin June 1st, and it's essentially a module or a series of modules or quizzes that you do have to complete before you attend the date that you select. It's a self-paced workshop that takes about 2 hours to complete. You do not have to complete it all in one sitting. You can start it on June 1st and then return back to it. Essentially, you do have to have it complete by the day that you go to your reservation date. And again, it is self-paced, and at the end, you will receive a certificate. The last part of orientation is attending the actual reservation that you've made in that first step. Your orientation date is a full day event. You can see the hours are from 10 to 4, and we gave you a little breakdown of what to expect during orientation. A big question that we get from students now, especially from transfer students, is when your transfer credit report will be available, when you'll see what classes transfer over, what credit you receive for those classes. This information is going to be ready for you. Our goal is to have it ready for you by the time that you come to orientation, which is why we requested those initial transcripts from all of you. Also, this is when you're going to be meeting your academic advisor. This is when you're going to be registering for classes. So you can't do that ahead of time. You can't speak to an academic advisor now. you do have to wait to orientation to take care of this step. And again, the earlier you sign up for this, the better it will be for you. One of the big questions that we also get is about major changes. We encourage you to have those conversations during orientation with your academic advisor, but please be aware that we will not be processing major changes during orientation. I can talk about that a little bit if anybody does have any additional questions at the very end, but this is where you would want to start that conversation. So the next slide that I want to talk about is housing. I do want to preface this by saying that housing is not a requirement for our transfer population. Housing is available to students with a limited capacity. The application is currently open. If any of you are interested in housing, when you submit the application, you have 14 days to make the $450 deposit. And I also want to make sure that you all are aware that our out-of-state and international students must apply before May 15th. I did see one international student in our presentation today. I don't know if there's any more, but just be aware that the deadline for those international and out-of-state students is May 15th. Some of the options that we have on our campus for our transfer students are residence halls and suites, as well as University Village apartments. So this kind of gives you a little bit breakdown of the different options that we have for our students. Obviously, our transfer students have a little bit of a wider selection than our incoming freshman students. And a lot of the time housing is decided based on how many units you have or your age group as well. The next thing I want to mention is AP scores. The deadline for submitting your AP scores is July 15th. But just like everything else, we encourage you not to wait, especially because I'm speaking specifically to the transfer students. So you guys have already, all of you have already completed AP exams in high school. This isn't something that you're doing at your community college. So please do not wait to submit your AP scores until July 15th or until you see it on your to-do list. If you have AP scores, make sure that you are requesting that now, because more than likely your AP scores have been archived, and it can take up to 3 months. At least it was last year. I don't know, the process may be a little bit faster this year, but last year when everything, obviously when we started working remotely, when COVID first happened, it was taking up to 3 months to get those AP scores sent over to us. And if you see the deadline, July 15th, that very first orientation reservation is July 19th. So you want to make sure that you have credit for these AP classes so that you're registering for the appropriate level of courses. So don't wait. You can see that our school code is listed here. It's 4028. You will have to go through College Board, and you will have to request your scores through using this form here, which you can also find if you just Google archived AP scores form online. And there is a $25 fee. Again, this fee is placed on by College Board. So Cal Poly Pomona has nothing to do with that fee. It's something that College Board is going to request from you. And one of the big questions that I like to address when talking about AP scores is a lot of the times your community colleges will post that you've received AP credit on your transcript. And so the question is, do I still have to send my AP scores? And the answer is yes, because a lot of the times the community colleges will give you credit, but they won't tell us what exam it's coming from. So you want to make sure that you are sending your scores from College Board. And again, don't wait. If you know that you're going to be attending Cal Poly Pomona in the fall, you know that you have AP credit, I would request them as soon as possible, even today if you can. So another deadline that is going to be coming up for those of you that decide to take the next step with Cal Poly Pomona is your final transcripts. Final transcripts are due on July 15th as well. This is where we want to see all of your coursework completed up until spring 2021. And also for this year as well, we will be accepting credit or pass grades for the terms of winter, spring, and summer. Credit or pass does not affect or impact your GPA. you want to make sure that your ADTs or your certificates that you're receiving are posted on your final transcript. And you want to make sure that, I lost my train of thought. Official transcripts should be sent from the schools directly or a third-party company. So third-party company, a lot of the times the community colleges will partner with institutions or companies like National Clearinghouse, Credential Solutions, Naviance, or Parchment. All of these are appropriate companies for you to send your transcript through if they're coming virtually. I just remembered what I wanted to say. All of your transfer requirements need to be completed by spring 2021. So you want to make sure that all of your grades are posted. That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to remind everybody that all of the transfer requirements do need to be posted on your transcript and completed by spring 2021. And that again is your Golden 4, your 60 semester units, and any supplemental courses that you're taking. We do prefer transcripts to be sent electronically, and those can be sent to verify@cpp.edu through those companies that I mentioned. However, you can also send transcripts through the mail if your school does not provide you electronic transcripts. So it is appropriate to send hard copy transcripts as well. I do want to point out that in order for your transcript to be official, if it's coming electronically, it does need to come either from the school or the third-party companies. It cannot come from your email. So if you request for a transcript to be sent to you and then you forward it over to Verify, that is considered an unofficial transcript. If you decide to mail in your transcript, as long as it's in that sealed envelope the school provided to you, and then you're sending it over to Cal Poly Pomona, that would be considered official. However, again, I just want to recommend electronic transcripts are best because sometimes documents can get lost in the mail. So if your school gives you that option, I would always go with the electronic transcript. So moving on to associate degrees for transfer. So this is another big question that we get from our students, our transfer students. So again, this is what needs to be posted on your final transcript. So a lot of students are emailing us now with verification forms, and that's fine. You can send those to us now. But in order for us to apply that to your record, it needs to be on your final transcript. Another big question that we get is students that either get informed that their ADT is dissimilar to their major, or you're informed by your community college that you won't be able to complete an ADT. So if you are informed of either of these things, just know that you are still admissible to Cal Poly Pomona. This does not impact your admissions decision. However, you will not be receiving the slight GPA bump that you would if you had that ADT, and you don't have that graduate in 60 semester units commitment that you had if you were to come in with an ADT. Of course, you're still responsible for completing all of the transfer requirements, including that supplemental coursework. So you still need to make sure that you're fulfilling that even if you're not getting your ADT. So I know Xiomara mentioned that you will all be having a financial aid presentation tomorrow, I believe. So if there are any financial aid questions, I encourage you to save those for tomorrow, as they are a lot more knowledgeable than we are. But I do want to mention that you will start seeing a preliminary aid packet on your Bronco Direct starting mid-March. I believe the exact date that the financial aid website provided was March 21st. This preliminary aid packet is not something that you can accept. It's just almost like a screenshot of what you can expect as long as everything stays the same. So just be aware of that. If you're seeing something that you don't agree with, just know that this is just a preliminary aid packet. Financial aid does have some virtual advising hours, Mondays through Thursdays and Fridays. You can see their hours on their screen. And I do highly recommend that you visit their website. They do a great job in making sure that their website is pretty straightforward. They have a specific page for newly admitted students. They kind of instruct you how to review and what your preliminary aid package means, and they have some information on scholarships. So I do highly recommend that you attend tomorrow's webinar and also you visit their website. So the Bronco ID card is not essentially a next step. It is something that you have to do as a new student. I like to mention it just so that you all are aware of what you will need to do. This will not impact your admission, but essentially, in order to receive your Bronco ID from Cal Poly Pomona, you will have to submit your own photo, which is really nice because back when I participated in orientation, I live in Riverside, it was really hot and they made us take our pictures. So now you're gonna get to do it at home and upload your own photo. You can find all of the guidelines on this website, and then this website will also allow you to upload the photo. Your first card will be free, and right now we are mailing all Bronco ID cards to the address on file. So make sure that your address on file is correct, make sure that your name is correct in the system, and then make sure that you are following the guidelines and that you're including your picture ID as well as a government issued ID, because we do need to verify identities for our students. But again, you can find more information on the website provided. And then just really briefly before I wrap up, these are two of the other questions that we get a lot in our inbox is, what does it mean to be provisionally admitted? So a lot of students will say, well, I already submitted my transcripts and it still says I'm provisionally admitted. And that is correct. You will remain provisionally admitted until all of your next steps are completed. Even in the fall when you start, you might still see that your status as provisionally admitted. So just be patient. We are reviewing all your information. You do have some additional steps to complete beyond that initial transcript. So just know that this does mean that you've been admitted. A lot of the time students are confused and they say, well, I don't know if I've been admitted. It says provisional. You have been admitted, but we do need to make sure that you are meeting the requirements, that you're completing all the steps, that you're signing, that you're completing the things by the deadline. So just make sure that you are staying on top of your to-do list, which you can find on Bronco Direct. The next big question that we get is immunization holds. Just know that your records are due to Cal Poly Pomona by spring 2021. There is a link with more information on your immunization records. There's a PDF that you can find online. This immunization hold will not prevent you from registering for classes in the fall. So make sure that you are visiting that website so you can get any of those questions answered that you may have regarding this immunization hold. And last but not least, I don't know if there's any WUI students in this participation. Our WUI students would be students that are from the Western states that are pictured in blue or green, but I just want to briefly touch on this. Students will be notified if they're eligible for WUI by April 1st. This is decided by the top 15% of out-of-state students by college. And if you are a WUI student and you are eligible for WUI, there is no additional application that you would have had to submit. Essentially, you get a non-resident tuition discount. If anybody has any WUI questions, feel free to ask those in the Q&A and we can go more into detail about this. But I don't want to talk too much about it if we don't have any participants that are part of WUI. And last but not least, if there's anything that you want to take a photo of, it would be this checklist here. This is just a brief overview of what I talked about, the next dates and deadlines. So of course you want to accept your admission and pay the enrollment confirmation deposit by May 1st. Again, if you are eligible for a waiver, we will not charge you that $150. It's already added to your account. You want to apply for housing by May 15th. This is also not a requirement for our transfer students, but we just want to remind anyone who's interested. You want to register for orientation by May 17th. You want to send your AP scores and your final transcripts by July 15th. One thing that I didn't talk about on that slide was that July 15th is a postmark deadline. That means that those documents need to be on their way to Cal Poly Pomona by July 15th. That does not mean that you submitted the order on July 15th. That is not a postmark deadline. Items need to be on their way to Cal Poly Pomona by the 15th. But again, do not wait. The quicker you submit it, the quicker we're able to post that credit for you. And then you don't have to worry about whether we got it or not by the deadline. And then last but not least, we are going to have some live webinars. And by we, I mean the Office of Admissions. We are going to have some live webinars starting in April. It is essentially going to be this exact same presentation. So if there are any questions that weren't answered today, you can join us for one of our live sessions. The days are posted here. I will be the lead for those sessions as well. So again, if you have any questions that come up afterwards, or if you want to review any of this information, you're more than welcome to join us in one of our live webinar next step sessions on those dates and times. And here you can see our contact information. You can see our email at admissions@cpp.edu. You can also see our phone number, 909-869-5299. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we will take your call during those hours. Or you can also, and I encourage you to visit our main page as well. And if you don't follow our Instagram or Twitter account, I do recommend that you do, because they do post a lot of reminders, as well as scholarship information, financial aid information, just general information that is beneficial to new and prospective and incoming students. So I highly recommend that you follow our Instagram and or our Twitter. Oops. And last but not least, welcome to the Bronco family. Like Tracy said at the beginning, we're very excited that you're all here. This is a big milestone for all of you. Congratulations. And we'll see if we can take, I don't know, I think Xiomara wanted to share something, and then I may answer some of the questions that weren't answered. I can't answer those live as well.
Thank you so much for all that great information. There's been quite a flurry of questions that have come in through the Q&A. So I am going to default to the Office of Admissions team to kind of let us know. I've seen some themes coming around the same types of questions for those that are asking about when you will be able to register for fall classes. You will be able to do so during your orientation date, and that's going to happen during the summertime. So that's when you'll be able to see that. But I do see there's been quite a number of questions related to transcripts. How do they know whether we receive transcripts, and if they're able to see that information if it's still pending for them?
Got it. So as far as the transcript, you will see it completed on your Bronco Direct, your to-do list. We do ask for 2 weeks from the day that we receive them. So I know a lot of students say, well, I send them on March 8th and it's been 2 weeks. Correct, but that doesn't mean your school processed them right away. We do have to essentially receive those documents, download them, match them to your file, upload them to the system, and then we will complete your to-do list. So we do just ask for a little bit of patience, a little bit of grace period on your time, maybe up to 3 weeks. You're more than welcome to follow up with us. If it's been a month or so and you don't see those transcripts checked in, we can always look in the system to make sure. But just be advised that a lot of the times you may have requested them early in March, but that doesn't mean your school sent them right away. A lot of the time schools have some processing time. It can be, I've seen anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, anywhere to 5 to 7 business days. If your transcripts were sent through the mail, it can take up to a month. So just be aware of that as well. Another question I see is about taking summer classes. So yes, you can take summer classes at your community college, but just know that those classes cannot be part of the admissions requirements. So they can be additional courses if you're interested, and you would have to send your final transcript once you're done with the summer courses. So again, you would have to send your final transcript for the spring by July, and then you have to send another transcript at the end of summer. I'm going to scroll through some of these questions to try to answer them live. I do see that Jonathan asked about summer classes. So again, I've already answered that. Are we allowed to?
Oh, Deborah, if I can just say real quick, just to clarify, because there was a lot of questions regarding summer. Just to clarify, transfer students, all of you on this call right now, all of your admission requirements need to be done by the end of spring 2021. So that includes your 60 transferable units, your Golden 4 classes, and if you are an impacted, a major student like mechanical engineering, you have to take all your calculus. So those are the admission requirements. All of those admission requirements need to be done by the end of spring 2021. If you take summer, that's great, but it can only be above and beyond what the admission requirements are stated. So just to kind of clarify, we need to have all requirements done by the end of spring 2021. Deborah, I think a couple questions came in regarding AP and just clarifying AP, is it required for everyone? What if they reported it on their Cal State Apply application? Do they still need to follow up with scores?
So I would say if you are receiving so if you reported AP test scores, but you received 2s, 1s and 2s on those scores, you do not need to send those. If you're trying to receive any credit for those AP scores, so you received a 3, 4, or 5, or you're using your AP scores to meet one of the Golden 4 requirements or any of those admission requirements, then yes, you will need to provide us your AP scores. I see a question about housing and why you need to apply early. I would recommend for the person that's kind of on the fence about applying to housing to contact housing directly to see what your options are. So that's what I would recommend. And you can contact housing at housing@cpp.edu and they will answer you. They are very prompt to respond and they may be able to address those concerns with you.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, there's a lot of questions about stating that they were going to receive an ADT and then not getting one. Can you kind of talk about that and how that affects their admissions?
So again, if you are going to receive an ADT and then if you stated that you were going to receive an ADT and you ended up not getting it because it was either deemed dissimilar or it was incomplete, you're missing the courses, it will not affect your admission. However, you are still required to complete those transfer requirements. So like Tracy said, the Golden 4, your 60 semester units, and any supplemental. So you're still required to complete those and we will correct your file. The way that we verify if you've received an ADT is by your final transcript. Your final transcript will have your ADT posted at the very bottom with your final spring grade. So that is how we will verify. If we don't see it there, we will correct your file. If we see it as incomplete, we will correct your file. If you did indeed receive it and it is deemed similar, we will make sure to add it to your account. I'm gonna just scroll through some of these questions to see if there's anything I can answer. My ADT has a class that was substituted. Will I need to complete a form for this? So I would say this is something that you would have to talk to your community college about to make sure that substitution will still allow you to have an ADT. Again, if it's posted on your final transcript, then yes, you're still eligible for that ADT. Do I need to send transcripts again if I did not take any spring classes? If those were your final classes, your degree has been posted and there's nothing beyond fall, no, you do not need to send transcripts again. If I'm transferring to Cal Poly Pomona in fall 2021, will I be able to take classes during the summer? If you mean take classes during the summer at your community college, again, yes, as long as it's not part of the transfer requirements, because those do need to be completed by spring, but you cannot take classes at Cal Poly Pomona in the summer. If we got an email from Cal Apply about our classes, should I contact my college to see what this means? I'm not 100% sure what this question is referring to, so you can go ahead and post this question again just for clarification purposes. I sent my transcript before March 15th, but it's still on my portal. So again, we are asking for a little bit of grace period to make sure that we are checking those in. March 15th was a postmark deadline. You can always follow up with your community college to see when they sent your transcript, because again, if you requested it for March 15th, but it wasn't sent until afterwards, that's something that you might want to be aware of. But as long as it was on its way by March 15th, you've met that deadline. Is it possible to change our subplan option? It is possible, yes. You can start this conversation during orientation. Changing subplans is typically a little bit easier than changing your major, but you might want to talk to your academic, you want to talk to your academic advisor about this. And again, that'll happen during orientation. So this question was already answered. So people that accept their admissions offer later will not be getting an earlier summer orientation date than the ones that have accepted admissions before. So basically, the sooner you accept, yes, the sooner you accept, the better. If you're still waiting for schools, then we completely understand. Orientation does not close until May 17th, way after the May 1st deadline, but you do want to make sure that you accept earlier rather than later if you know that you're ready to commit. How and what department do we contact for the $150 waiver? So again, the $150 waiver would already be applied to your application. You will see it as you're going through the process of accepting your admission. So you'll see it already on your account. It's not something that you have to apply for. Tracy, would you mind talking a little bit about the Cal Poly Promise? I didn't brush up on my skills on my information on this.
So the promise is essentially the ADT. And so it is the commitment, the associate degree for transfer. So it's essentially a commitment that if you've taken the right prescribed curriculum at your community college in one of the ADT majors that we offer at Cal Poly Pomona, and we verified and confirmed that that is the degree that you're receiving, then we do give you that promised privilege of being able to graduate within 2 years. But again, that being said, many students are not part of this program and still can graduate in a timely fashion. It's just that associate degree for transfer is basically where we've deemed the curriculum at your community college in that particular major as equivalent to ours. And so it's that commitment to get you graduated in an additional 2 years upon coming to the university. So again, it's just a privilege of being able to graduate in 2 years. It doesn't mean you are no longer admitted if you don't get that ADT. It just means that you don't receive all those great benefits. That's essentially what the difference is. People are asking a lot about the Golden Four. Just to clarify, Golden Four are the 4 classes that all transfers needed to have: college English, college math, critical thinking, and speech. So when we call it Golden Four, it's because every single Cal State University requires it. So that's why it's called the Golden Four.
So I see another great question about the 70 semester units. All of these units count towards my degree. So that evaluation will be done by our evaluators or analysts. So you will see that on your transfer credit report. We do cap at the 70 semester units. So if all of them are transferable, you will see them on your TCR or your transfer credit report. If there is a class that doesn't transfer over, you can always petition the course once you start in the fall. Somebody asked about the first day of fall. If I'm not mistaken, that's August 19th. But you can find our calendar on our website for the fall 2022 school year. But I believe it's August 19th. Let's see. So this meeting has been recorded. Yes, it will be posted. Yes. This is a GPA question. This question, I recommend that you reach out to admissions@cpp.edu just so that we can answer that and maybe are able to look into your file to see if there's anything else happening. So I encourage you to email us at admissions@cpp.edu. Tuition for resident students, I don't know the exact number. It is posted on our website, so I encourage you to visit the tuition and fees. I don't know if anybody can look up that exact number and share it with that student.
Can a counselor throw the web link to the cashier's or financial aid site? And then that way students can all see the estimated fees based on if you're a resident or non-resident.
Thank you. So this impacted major question and missing one math course. This I would also recommend you reach out to admissions@cpp.edu, include your Bronco ID number so that we can look at your file and maybe have a conversation to see what's going on in this specific case. Will Chaffey College be sending my final transcripts by July 15th? Chaffey College is one of the colleges that we do a e-request for students on their behalf. So your college may be sending those to us. You will see that on your Bronco Direct. If that's part of that, it'll say a transcript was requested on your behalf. We still recommend that you keep up to date with a to-do list so that you know what's being requested. Is math a requirement for the Golden Four? Yes, math is a requirement for the Golden Four, and that is a college level or statistics course. When do we need to submit our spring and summer transcripts from the community college? July 15th for spring. Remember, if you are doing anything in the summer, would be anything additional that you want to do. It would not be part of the Golden Four because those requirements do need to be completed by spring. Your spring courses are due to us by July 15th. That is a postmark deadline. And summer, I would say as soon as you complete those requirements, you can go ahead and send those over to us. Will I be able to claim my ADT benefits at Cal Poly Pomona if I complete them in the summer instead of spring? As long as you complete them before you start, yes, you can add those. And again, we will need that final transcript with those posted showing that you completed them before fall. During orientation, will they help us make a plan to graduate with classes to take? Yes, that's exactly what orientation is going to be. You're meeting your academic advisor and you're deciding those courses that you need to take. So this question is about DSP and S. I recommend you reach out to the disability office directly. If one of the counselors maybe can find the contact for that office and supply it to the student, that link, so that they know where they can reach out to the Disability Resource Center. There's a lot of very specific questions. So if you see me skipping through those, it's either because it's already been answered. If there's any additional questions, you can continue posting. We still have time. I did see one earlier that was asking mainly to summarize what your next step should be. Your next step should be to accept your admissions to Cal Poly Pomona if you're ready to commit. If you've already done that, then I would say to register for orientation. Let's say that there are classes that they have there at Cal Poly Pomona that I can take at Mount Sac. Can I still attend both Cal Poly Pomona and Mount Sac? Yes, you can still attend Cal Poly Pomona and Mount Sac. Even when you are enrolled here in the fall, just remember that we do cap your transfer credits at 70 semester units. And also our registrar's office, which is who would post those credits after you've arrived at Cal Poly Pomona, they do have about a month. Not a month. I think it's like 6 to 8 weeks grace period from when you complete those classes. So sometimes it makes it a little bit more difficult to get those credits on time if you are going both to the community college and Cal Poly Pomona at the same time. So just be aware of that. So again, some of these specific questions, I recommend that you email admissions@cpp.edu. The college determined that you're on track to finish your degree after spring. So again, this is an ADT question. You should not be concerned if your ADT is deemed as dissimilar or incomplete. This does not affect your admission, but you still need to complete those transfer requirements.
There's quite a number of questions coming in also about what the fall will look like for us. For those of you that are not aware, we are following state and regional guidelines. On our website, we have our safer return to campus. And so right now the plan is to offer some courses, activities, labs in the fall in person. But again, state and regional guidelines will dictate what the fall continues to look like. And when you register for the fall classes during orientation, you'll be able to meet with advisors and have some of those discussions with them as well.
Wendy asked, when would I know what year I got placed being a transfer student? Wendy, I don't know if you are referring to the architecture program or just transfer in general. So if you could please clarify that question. Let's see, another AP question. They're responding to imply that I would be on the to-do list if we need to confirm AP scores. So again, if you've received a 3, 4, or 5, or if you're using your AP scores to meet any of the transfer credit, including the 60 semester units, you need to send us AP scores. Even if they're posted on your college transcript, you still need to send those to us through College Board. Let's see, if I was admitted to the sociology program with the option of social work, if I can be a social worker. I don't really understand that question. So if you could please clarify that. How do we apply for grants? So I would recommend you visit the scholarship website or the scholarship portion of financial aid.
And again, in the chat, we went ahead and put the registration for tomorrow's event. And at this time, I will go ahead and kind of draw your attention to some of the next couple of events that we do have coming up as we continue to address some of the questions that are part of the chat. But thank you so much for joining us. We are getting very close to time with our webinar today. So on behalf of Project Caminos, we do have the following webinars that are coming up. The first one being financial aid, what admitted students need to know tomorrow. And then we also have one coming up on April the 14th. For those of you that are joining that want to learn how do we support, the transfer students, we have our Bronco Bound Parent Series. We have some social engagement activities with CPP Loteria. Lots of questions around how do I register, orientation, what does that look like, curriculum sheets, what are the classes that you're going to need. We have our workshop coming up on May the 19th, which is meeting your advising team or learning about your advising team and sex partners, and them talking a little bit about what are the resources that you will have available as you come in as a transfer student. And again, if you haven't already visited our website, you can see our website is located at cpp.edu, Project Caminos, or you can also follow us on social media. But we're very happy that we're able to address some of the questions today, not only with the webinars that we have coming up with financial aid, but if you want to jump back on in the month of April and hear again this presentation from the Office of Admissions, it's always helpful to know what is coming up next and being able to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements and that you're getting your questions answered. We'd love to be able to answer all of the questions, but we do see some of the questions coming in are very specific to your situations. And unfortunately, in this type of a setting, we're not able to address all of them, but we are going to try to continue for the next couple of minutes to address general type of questions. But for joining our webinar today, we do ask for you to complete our workshop survey. If you are a prospective student or transfer admitted student, we invite you to complete the student survey. This will also enter you for an opportunity to win a $50 Amazon gift card. And so it's just about 2 minutes that it will ask you a couple of questions and it will get you information about the resources that our program offers. So again, we thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and take a couple more questions as best as we can for the next couple of minutes. But again, for everybody that has joined us, thank you, congratulations, and we welcome you to the Bronco family.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us.
Admissions team, do you want to go ahead and read out a few of the remaining Q&As that are kind of big bucket items?
Yeah, I can go ahead and continue reading them. Again, questions about speaking to academic counselors. This will not happen until orientation. There was a question about placement for a landscape architecture. Landscape architecture does not require a portfolio. There is no placement. It's only architecture that does. So I think, Wendy, you had that question. So you won't be evaluated. So just to clarify, for architecture majors that are transfer students, they are required, once admitted, to submit a portfolio, and then the Department of Architecture will evaluate what year that they're placed. Landscape architecture does not fall under that. It's only for architecture majors. So Wendy, you don't have to worry about that. How long does it take to graduate without an ADT? So essentially you should be on track to finish in 2 years. The ADT, or the Promise program, means that all of the courses that you took in your community college career will transfer over to Cal Poly Pomona. So you'll be right where you're supposed to be as a junior standing. If you don't have the ADT, not all of those classes may be transferable. So that's really where the benefits of an ADT come into place.
I will say, just to clarify, I mean, your units are transferable. It's just how does it apply into the Cal Poly Pomona curriculum? So just to kind of clarify, students are eligible for transfer admission with an associate degree for transfer or with just an associate of arts degree, or not with either degree at all. You just take the requirements. The only distinction with the ADT program is that we guarantee your graduation in 2 years because all of those courses exactly place into the curriculum that you need to graduate. So that being said, you can certainly not earn any sort of degree at your community college, and most don't actually, but still you meet the admission requirements to be admitted to the university. It may take you just a little bit longer to graduate because not all those classes may exactly fit into the little puzzle of your curriculum. So that is kind of the major distinction between an associate degree for transfer and everything else, is that associate degree for transfer exactly fits into all the curriculum for timely graduation in an additional 2 years.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes. Let's see. I registered for the virtual orientation. Where may I find the CPP online orientation? This is a great question. So the online orientation workshop portion is going to be available on June 1st on the Cal Poly Pomona orientation webpage. So that's where you want to go to complete that portion. So after June 1st. So you probably won't be able to see that information now, although you may be able to review what's required of you. I do see a couple of questions regarding that. I think a lot of the questions on here are repeat, so I don't see anything else that is new. Again, you can always email us at admissions@cpp.edu. We do have about a 24 to 48 hour response rate. You can always give us a call as well. You can find our admissions phone number posted online. And we are typically open, or not typically, we are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Great questions being asked by everybody. Again, we thank you so much for joining us. If you, obviously you registered, and so we're gonna go ahead and package up the recording of this and send it back your way. But again, we thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that if your question was not able to be answered, that once you review the recording again or join one of the upcoming webinars, if not, you'll be able to go ahead and contact the Office of Admissions directly to try to get a response within that 24 to 48 hour range that they have.
Just really quickly, I do see a question about being a part-time student. You are able to be a part-time student at Cal Poly Pomona. Just know that that will impact, obviously, the time that it takes you to graduate. It will also impact the type of financial aid package that you receive, since you are taking less courses. So you might want to, I would encourage you, if that did not answer your question specifically, you email us at admissions@cpp.edu, but you do have that option of being a part-time student, yes. And when is the last day for orientation? The dates are posted online. I believe it's sometime in August, if I'm not mistaken, early August. So you might want to review those dates. Again, you can find that information on the orientation website. The last day to sign up for orientation is May 17th. Failure to complete that requirement will be a reason for us to withdraw or rescind your application. "12 units is considered full-time." Yes, that's another question that was asked. We do recommend 15 units each semester, but 12 units is full-time.
I see the question that I don't know if it was already answered. Final transcripts must come from their most recent attended college and must have that CSU certification. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, their most recent attended college. Yes. So if you've attended multiple colleges, but you've already completed that coursework in years past, you won't need to resubmit that one. No.
And if you've already requested transcripts and you just haven't seen that clear through, if it's been over a month, as Deborah mentioned, go ahead and send an email as a follow-up, but do allow some time before those transcripts are able to be processed.
And I might say something too. If you've ordered your transcripts and you don't think that we've received them yet, when you email us, email the confirmation number that you received if you ordered an electronic transcript, because we can go and try to dig that up based on your confirmation number. So try to provide us as much information as you can when you ordered it and what that confirmation number is.
I do see a question here. Can I take classes at Cal Poly Pomona and then transfer to UCR? Yes, you can if that's your plan. That might not be the most realistic plan if that's your goal, but you can. We've seen it done. So.
And are you able to work on campus if you are a newly admitted student? You wouldn't be able to work on campus this summer, however, for the fall, and you'll be able to go access to our handshake through the Career Center to begin to seek employment on our campus beginning for the fall term. At this time, if you want to go ahead and take the final question, and then we will be right at our time for this webinar. And then again, as a reminder, we are going to be sending the recording, and you can reach out to the Office of Admissions for follow-up questions or join one of the upcoming webinars in the month of April.
I just want to, there's still a couple of questions, but I want to encourage you all that if you have a specific question, I see a lot of these are specific, just email us at admissions@cpp.edu. And we will take care of answering those questions that maybe weren't answered here. So I encourage you to do that. And again, just thank you everybody for your time and participating in this event.
Great. Colleagues in the Office of Admissions, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, to those transfer that are still with us, congratulations. We hope that to welcome you to the Bronco family. And if you have any questions, please continue to reach out and be part of our virtual services, either through Project Camino's Office of Student Success, our outreach partners. We are continuing to be here to provide services for you and answer your continuous question. Thank you, everybody, and we wish you a good night.